Well, give us an update on your Eat It.
Eat it. Okay, I'll tell you what. I will do a quick demo of this. Let me get my thing out of the way here.
Has the Mac version been released yet? Because I either missed the
When I do
email.
the closed beta, it will be released as Mac and Windows. Yeah, so it'll be a simultaneous release. The only reason the Mac release didn't come out back when was because I was dealing with some questions of how to publish appropriately so people could run it.
Mm.
And I was later informed that I would have been able to release it just fine. I would have just had to give people some instructions on how to run it. But the other thing is I hadn't quite tested. So one of the challenges of writing this tool is everything in Corona is documents directory, temporary directory, resource directory, and then cache. There's a cache directory on certain devices have a cache directory. Well, we're talking about systems here. So I needed to come up with a whole new file system management and accessing methodology that could incorporate any drive on your system, also would be able to locate and be aware of your desktop. So, OS 10 and Windows handle that differently. And then to be able to find the equivalent of my documents, your documents directory, because those are standard places where people like to put stuff. People like to put stuff on their desktop, and people like to put stuff in their documents directory. But I had to give them a way to say, well, I want to put all my stuff on the C drive and be able to find my resources and stuff. And so that involved me coming up with a whole new way of dealing with just the directory structure and the concept of directories and where things are sourced from, and make it, what's the word I'm seeking here? Making it was just all melded and working together seamlessly.
So let me ask you: have you exceeded the amount of time that you thought you would initially spend working on this?
Yeah, I've exceeded my plan. My original plan was 60 hours for the alpha, and 60 hours for the closed beta. And at that time, it wasn't even called a closed beta. It was more a beta, so like an open beta almost. I'm at about 250 total hours right now, so more than double my budget. And I would expect that there's probably just a little more than that still coming, probably closer to around 300.
Do you think that was, like you said, sort of working through things that unfolded as you progressed?
Yeah, so part of the difficulty, the struggle with this tool is that it's really hard to have a vision of the whole thing in your head that encompasses all of the challenges and the interactions that are going to occur. For example, one of the things in this project is that it's got a beginner mode and a experienced mode. And the beginner mode is sort of like, it's better to turn this over. So the experience mode is you get full access to all the features and you get asked all the questions and you get to tweak all the little settings. For example, I'm in experience mode now, and if I go in here, I can select a project type, and a project type is basically telling me, is this thing going to have interfaces, or is this going to be like a plain Jane project that has no special extras, doesn't have any, doesn't use Composer, doesn't have any of that stuff. So if I went with a basic project here, then in experience mode, I can choose whether I'm going to be making a game from a template, for example, the basic starter, which is just like an empty project, or the current one example that I have in here while I'm testing, which is the coin flip test, or the coin flip template. And then more and more features will be below this. But however, if you go into, if you switch over to beginner mode, let's create this project, and you create one, it skips right ahead and assumes that you're not going to do anything fancy with the framework. In addition, whereas previously, let me go back into the experience mode, just edit the same project. So you go in here, you check your project type, choose your content type. Then you can choose the target devices you're going to put it on. So for example, on maybe Android TV, OS 10, Windows 32, and Apple and Android tablets. Then you get a whole selection of like resolutions that you could target. And the list just goes on and on. So things that you might want to add on, the super meter, you want to use my AdMob toolkit, which is a library to simplify using AdMob and creating your AdMob banners and interstitials, or maybe you want to do that and Vungle. Then you could choose. This is the part where everybody trips up on is you wish to include a number of plugins, and you don't want to code them up yourself. You don't want to set them up yourself, so you just select whichever ones you want. And you give your project a name. And let's make the short name something else. Then you select an icon. Somebody here on the panel asked me this, and this was coming, but it wasn't out in the alpha. So you choose an icon. Let's say we go to our documents folder, choose an icon. Let's say I was working on Freebirds, still working on Freebird. I wish I had this tool back then. So I select the icon. That's going to be the one that I'll generate. No review page yet. And then we generate our app. The point I was trying to make here, you can see it making the icons in the background there.
Nice.
And this is what you get out of experience, is basically you get all of these questions, and there'll be a little bit more. That part where it said review, it'll actually look at the choices you've made, and some of those things will require a little interaction. For example, let's say you chose to use my AdMob plugin. Well, it'll query you and say, do you want to give me your AdMob IDs now so I can set this up, or do you want me to put like a placeholder in so you can put them in later? So that way people don't have to write all this code themselves. They don't have to make their icons. They don't have to, let me show you the code that comes out of here. They don't have to set up the build settings file. So here's the build settings file that got written for you by the tool. And it ensures that all the appropriate settings are set based on your selection of target platform. Another thing that's tricky for a lot of people is some of these plugins require other plugins that they be present or be in use. It sets up all this stuff. So make sure that you got the right Android settings based on your selections and the plugins you're using, et cetera, et cetera. But the point I was trying to make earlier was that in beginner mode, I don't want people who are brand new to Corona to be like dealing with all this. So they create a project. They just say, I want to make a coin flipper or any number of the templates that'll be in here. And then, okay, I want to make it. And it limits them. First of all, no desktop, none of that stuff. Because most people coming here the first time are going to be thinking mobile. So they go, okay, I want to make it. I got an Apple phone. And they can choose a resolution and orientation. Now here's the thing, is you're seeing more options than they might have available to them. Depending on the template, some of these templates will be predefined. For example, if you had chosen another template, I don't have any in here, that could only be landscape or could only be portrait. For example, the what's the match 3 game, Corona Crush? Mm-hmm. It only works for portrait. It only makes sense to have that be portrait. So in that case, if Corona Crush were in the list and I had selected it, sorry, it's not there, none of these options would have been necessary. It would have pre-selected all these things for the beginner, only for the beginner. And then they would have gone right to the point where they named their project, chose an icon, and then just put something valid in, and then generated it. So that's the idea behind beginner and experienced. Well, I kind of got lost. What was I saying? I was explaining originally why it was so difficult to make, but I guess this is what I've been working on.
Yeah, you were talking about the differences between workflow between experienced and
the big difference is that in beginner mode, which is how it'll start when you get it, it tries to minimize the number of things you have to figure out or understand. So it depends on the choices you make, what the options are that are available to you. But when you go into experienced mode, and there will be a third mode eventually, which will be expert, and that will approach this whole design methodology a little bit different. So currently the way it is questionnaire style. So basically you go in here and it just asks you questions and you go from page to page answering them or making selections, which is sort of like the normal approach, a meaningful approach for new people and for mid-level experienced folks who don't want to be like faced with too much information at once. But the expert mode will more than likely be a single unified interface where they get to make all these selections at the same time. It'll be tabbed or dialogued or something. I haven't quite figured it out.
I tell you, having that automatically generate the build file and all the other stuff is a big time saver. Just because, like you said, there's some things that you have to have.
Right. I mean,
Right?
this project, this tool is designed not just to make games from templates. It is designed to set you up very quickly. For example, let's say that you know that you're going to be working on a mobile project. So you go with a mobile project, project type, you're in experience mode, and you say, I want to just start with an empty framework. So you go with a basic starter, which is just going to be a framework with no content. And then you say, okay, I want to work with Ed's SSK library for all my interface choices, or perhaps I want to use the widget library, and I want to use widget buttons and widget scrollers and all that stuff. So make that framework for me. And you go through here and you basically select options that you want to use over and over. Let's say you know for sure you're going to do a series of games using AdMob to monetize. So you're going to go with the AdMob banners monetization feature that I provide. And you make your other selections here. Let's call it Bob's template. And you're going to use a specific icon, your own personal icon. Let's just choose one here. And you quit. You don't even generate it. And at this point, what you've got is a starter project that at any time you need to have a fresh project. You just click it. And there'll probably be like a one-click button on there where you can just generate it. And you go to the generate phase, and you generate that puppy. And now you got a brand new project that it's empty, but it's got everything it needs in place for you to do your work. So I want to make this tool I want to get rid of all the heavy lifting. I want to get rid of all the stuff that people trip over, all the settings and the confusing bits, and just simplify it. At the same time, I want to be able to provide people with the ability to create more extensive content. For example, choose a game template, generate that, and then be able to actually look at the code or run it directly out of the tool here. And of course, I chose the one that's not working. But why did I choose widget? Why did I choose widget? Okay, let's undo that. Let's go back. No widget. I've got the OOP and the SSK button variant working and not widget. My apologies. Let's go with SSK. Now watch this fail. Invariably, when you're online doing this stuff, it fails. And that's it.
Nice. I'm a fan of tools that that make easy work of things that are repetitive, right? I mean, if you're sure you could write that piece of code by hand, right? But if you know what that piece of code is, and some people do this by keeping copies of projects or repos and things that they clone, and then but anything that kind of, as a developer, that this just speeds it up.
Right.
So you can get to the interesting bits, the pieces that you can't speed up. I think that's worth doing.
And the bit you just said there, where people say, where they keep like a project from 4 years ago or 2 years, a year ago. I've got a project that used to work a year ago. But since then, new features have been added, or for example, the recent changes to the way the build settings requires plugins. That change, if your template would no longer work, or it wouldn't work the way you expected because some of the verbiage has changed, some of the rules have changed. The idea behind this tool is Corona makes a change, I update this, you go to the updates button, you click update the tool, it goes and gets the updated scripts, and it runs. You don't have to make any change, you don't have to learn anything new. The stuff that I heavy lifted for you previously is still heavy lifted with the new changes. So you don't have to be like, oh, how does that work? I made a stupid typo over and over, that kind of nonsense.
Yeah.
There's another bit in here I didn't show, which is in addition to templates, reskins, asset add-ons, which is like packs, so you can get you can download content packs of artwork and incorporate them as part of the standard build of your tool or your the standard build of your project. I'm incorporating the concept of built-in tools. And of course, it's not very exciting because it's the one I'm going to show you is not too exciting because it's basically the same tool that was used when you generated, but it's to demonstrate the concept of a standalone tool. There will be a series of tools that you'll be able to get, and they'll be able to run directly within this tool, so a subtool in a sense. So the icon generator is one of those. It comes in a standalone flavor, which you're seeing here, and then the one where it's run automatically when you generate your project. But the concept, of course, or that I'm trying to get across here is that eventually this tools page will have a number of options. For example, some of the tools that I want to make or have, the icon generator, the resource manager, which is where you'd be able to import any kind of arbitrary sounds and resources that you want to be able to include in your projects. I want to have the a revised version of my particle editor, and I'd also like to see 2 particle editors for the different CBE and for Prism, which are the 2 standalone particle libraries by, I can't remember the guy's name right now. Anybody remember his name? Nope.
Caleb.
Yeah, Caleb Place. Caleb Place has got 2 different great particle libraries. We've used CBE in one of our projects on Corona Geek, and they really both need an editor because people trip over them because they don't understand the syntax, and so simply by having an editor, it takes all that away. And then some other tools. So, any questions? I'm glad.
Yeah, Ed, when you're just talking about that part of it, so you would incorporate that, or you would reach out to Caleb and say, I think it would be beneficial for you to have this in here.
Well, I think I'm going to write those particular tools, but I think the question you're getting at here is if I'm an external user and I want to produce my own content that can be plugged in, can I? And the answer is yes, you can. The answer is I have in place sort of like an SDK for the tool that exposes features that allow you to hook your tool in here so that it will get loaded. It can be loaded inline and run inline and take advantage of like the Explorer tool, which is this tool you're seeing here, which is my System Explorer and stuff like that. So you can just call it and say, I need a System Explorer that allows me to find images. And then you just call it with the right settings and it would launch it, and then the user could select what they want. It would return the file or files that they selected.
So have you figured out how someone get paid for if they want to charge for that feature they have?
Yeah, so I think I mentioned this before, but the 2 approaches here are, one, this user who wishes to have their content on the in the tool can work on it, get it working, and then come to me and say, hey, Ed, I'd like to publish this through you. And then I will put it on my server, and then I will track the sales of that particular product and pay them on a schedule. The alternate way is, and this will come out a little bit after the initial release, is that people will be able to package up these things themselves and distribute them as zip files. And then users will be able to, what I call, sideload those zip files. But that will require a signing algorithm, which I haven't quite got finished yet, so that they can appropriately sign those things so that people can't just do this willy-nilly. Now, it will not protect, the secondary method will not protect your content. So if you want to create content and limit it so only the people who buy it can sideload it, that's not going to be a possibility because I have no way of controlling the asset from the side. It's just, I can't think of a way to do it. There is actually one way, but I haven't explored it yet.
So Ed, I get the sense that when your wife asks you to go out and get some ice, that you come back with an ice sculpture when she really ice cubes.
My wife accuses me of this correctly, is that let's get to the core of it, is that I make things too complicated.
Yeah, well, I don't think you. I'm not saying that you're making this too complicated. I'm just saying that this is extremely sophisticated. I mean, the idea that you're having to come up with a signing algorithm, I'm like, wow, okay. I certainly don't know that I would.
It sounds fancy. All it is a special number that identifies it as uniquely generated by this author, and then appropriately allowed or disallowed, depending on some rules.
Yeah, well, pi is just a number, but I mean, it took a while to figure out what it was.
Yeah, Ed, I think you're simplifying something that, as Charles I think is trying to say, is when you get down to it, it may sound easy and it's been done. Obviously, it's out there, but to put it into your tool, to get it working, it's not simple.
No, I'm not. Yeah, and I'm not saying. And I'm going so far. Yeah, I'm not even making a statement on whether or not people will participate. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that I would have stopped a long time ago because of signing, things and things that I've been like, whoa, it seems daunting. So kudos to you for making this thing.
Those are the fun parts, honestly, Charles. Figuring out those technical challenges are the fun bits. All the fun bits are past now.
I asked Terry Schuessler the same kind of question at the GDC. I was like, hey, so, kind of give me some insights into like what gets you out of bed in the morning? Like what excites you about things, right? Because we all have stuff that we kind of get revved up about. And he says, I just like to solve really hard problems. And I'm like, oh, okay. Because I avoid really hard problems. It does not get me out of the bed in the morning. So.
No, Charles, it's not true. Problem solving. Of course, you don't avoid really hard problems. I don't believe you.
Yeah, no, I just, but things like this. I mean, this definitely seems. I would have eaten the elephant one bite at a time, and then eventually looked back and went, "Wow, I ate the whole elephant." But I don't know if that's what you're doing as well, but it just seems like, it seems, I mean, I'm just amazed at how this is all coming together, and it just seems to be so
it's been a challenge. There's a lot of chicken and egg scenarios here that have been giving me real conundrums. Like one is an experience mode. You have this concept of a template or a framework, like giving people interfaces, main menu, splash screen, and all that stuff. And then you have the concept of content. But content and interfaces and all that, they're sort of similar. They both use main Lua. They both have build settings. I mean, these things go hand in hand. The question I really struggled with was, which one do I let the user select first? Do I let them select the content and then allow the content to sort of drive what features are available in the frameworks? Or do I do it the other way around? And eventually what I said is choose the framework first, which is whether it's going to have interfaces or whether it's going to be a bare project, and then let that drive the content. So that will pre-select what options you have available to you within the content. So hopefully people will understand this. I will make a video for people so they can watch it. That's one thing that's not where you'll notice there's no questions or like info. None of these things is working. Project info. I don't have any of the help stuff working. So that's yet another thing that needs to get in there before the release. So,
well, it looks great. When do you think you'll have the beta so that we can put it on our Macs?
It's got to be this week. The closed beta has got to be this week. I'm currently today working on. What you see here is I just worked on the list mode. So this is the catalog. One of the things is the catalog. The idea behind this is it'll be an icon. It'll have an image that shows the content. Like, for example, the coin flip or the basic match 3 would have a screenshot of that game. But then this is too much stuff, right? So I needed to provide a list view, which was to reduce it so you could see more content on one screen, and then a filter, which is not working. So you can further filter this by the type of thing you're looking for. And I need to add the search bar. So there'll be a little bar down here, imagine, if you will, where you can type in match 3. So you can find the match 3 out of your list of 500 different items you have in your catalog of options, whatever, because the catalog is going to be huge eventually. So back to answering your question. today I finished up the list view option. I'm working on the filtering and the searching next, and then over the next couple days, just finishing up the basic content that's going to be in the closed beta. And what I mean by content is I want to give a couple of examples of like templates you can make and stuff, so people can try more than one. I don't want people to go, oh, look, projects, I can make a coin flipping game. Yay, that's the only thing I can make. No, I'm going to put a couple more templates in there, and then I'll release the closed beta basically at that point. It's not going to be perfect, but it'll be enough so that people, the closed beta folks, can start to dig on it and go, yeah, I understand this, or this part doesn't make any sense at all. So this week.
It's interesting.
Sure, this time.
And have you considered, and maybe you've talked about this in the past, but obviously it's going to be pretty complex when it's done, especially if it grows and people add stuff to it besides you.
Right.
I know people, especially starters, are going to have questions. And have you considered a thing where people can pay to, besides buying this and buying parts of it, whatever they're using, actually purchasing your help time?
I'm glad you asked that. Two answers to that. One, I have all these ideas, sort of like what you're talking about, and I always have to sort of stamp them down. I just write them on a list and try to forget. Otherwise, I get sidetracked and I don't work on this, which is part of why this has taken so long. But to answer your question, yes, I have that idea, but I approached it a little differently. What I think I want to do is get the closed beta out first and foremost, as people like to say, and then get the open beta out. And once we get to the open beta stage, what I want to do is have sessions, sort of like we do with Geek, get 10 people in a room and get people to sign up. So yes, the short answer is yes. I want to provide some kind of a service like that. The trick is to get people to sign up and all show up at the same time, and then we'll work together as a group to answer questions. So people get to ask them and go, what's going on? I don't understand this. And you have 3 different people also didn't understand it, so they can benefit from it. Actually, Charles and I talked about something like this a while back. This should sound vaguely familiar to Charles because he and I floated an idea like this some time ago. So I might, yeah. I don't know what's going on exactly there, Charles, but the idea's coming back around.
And you're going to record those sessions, right? So that
record those sessions, exactly.
Yeah. Exactly.
So
now, is this going to be a pay once and then you get all the updates forever? Or are you going to put some kind of a limit on, like it's good for a year, and then if you update it after that, then there's you pay half price, or you're going to 2 years, 3 years? I mean, have you thought about?
So how is this tool going to be monetized? Is that your question?
Partly.
Sort of pseudo?
Yeah, I guess.
How long am I going to own it after I download it?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll answer both of those questions.
Okay.
My basic plan at this point is to monetize it as a one-time purchase for the tool. The tool will come bundled, pre-bundled. So when you buy the tool and you log in to create your account, you will be required to create an account. And the reason is so that I can deliver the content to you. I have no way of delivering content to you if you don't have an account. But it's a very slim thing. You just put in your email, your name, you're done. At that point, it will activate all the tools that should be activated, and it will prompt you to download those. And then anytime in the future, you'll be able to uninstall the tool, reinstall the tool if you wish, and log in with your account details and get those tools re-downloaded and installed. So the idea here is that I will do a one-time fee for people to buy this tool and to activate a preset number of options, templates, tools, etc., which will probably expand over time, but people who have the old purchase will get those too if new features come along. But the other side of this is the catalog. Now the catalog will have content that is paid content. And the way that's going to work is you will be able to select things to purchase. For example, let me just choose a couple of things here. Just whatever. And then you'll go to the checkout and you'll be presented with a checkout where you have to pay credits. So there will be a credit system, and you will be able to purchase credits and put them into your account and then use them to purchase content. I haven't decided what a credit is equivalent to in dollars. So pay once to get the tool. It will come with a certain subset of features, which some people will find that's all they ever need. You know, the ability to generate frameworks is all I wanted. I only wanted it to be able to help me with all the plugins and all that stuff. And I wanted to have Ed's 10 libraries and whatever that come along bundled with it. But then people who want to get more can buy more. And the way they do it is they get credits, put them in their account, and use those credits to buy the content. There's one more question you didn't really ask there, but it's attached. So there's one challenge here, is that for me, if people buy the tool, they get a bunch of content, they download all that content, and then they delete it, and then a year later they need to go get that content again, well, they should be able to, and they will be able to. But when they download that content, it costs money for me because I got to maintain the server, I got to pay for the bandwidth and stuff like that. So what I'm doing is entertaining that concept that after you purchase and download your content the first time, if you re-download content that you previously downloaded, you'll be charged a small credit fee to cover the download cost. So like a one-time day fee or something, like 10 credits or something, to get your content back on your system. So I haven't worked out exactly what that will be, but I think that is fair and makes sense so that I can sustain this.
Yeah, most software things these days either do a time limited. You have a certain amount of time to download something, or you can download it 5 times, or you can buy kind of like insurance. You know, you can buy that $5 so that you can download it later on.
Right. So, I mean, I've considered all those concepts, and the one that I did settle on, I think, is that there'd just be a minor fee, because it's a very small cost for me, but it is a real cost, and so I can't just suck that up. I got to pass it on. So, seems fair.
Yeah.
Did that answer your question, Mike?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Can't wait to see it come out. And
I can't wait to see it come out either. Oh,
around
gosh.
on it and see if we can break it for you.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure you'll be able to break it. The thing is on the first release, it's going to be all like templates and some tools and all sort of like code generators, which is cool and exciting, but it's not as exciting for me as what I want to work on next, which is some of the visual tools and the visual editors and the like the cool stuff. So I just want to get past this phase where I do like the base version of this tool and some content, and then finally get to work on the cool stuff, the stuff that gets me up in the morning.